5 real witch cases that will make you question reality. In the quiet hours before dawn, when darkness clings to the earth like a burial shroud and civilization feels as fragile as morning mist, there are encounters that shatter our understanding of reality. These are moments when the veil between our rational world and something far more ancient tears open, revealing practitioners of arts that predate Christianity, science, and human compassion. Real witches don't wear pointed hats or cackle over bubbling cauldrons. They are human beings who have made bargains with forces that exist in the spaces between what we consider possible. They practice in hidden places where old gods still demand blood sacrifice, where spoken words can reshape flesh and bone. These aren't historical accounts from centuries past or folklore passed down through generations. These are documented encounters from the modern era. Ordinary people who stumbled into extraordinary horror when they crossed paths with individuals wielding power that shouldn't exist in our technological age. What makes these encounters particularly terrifying isn't just the supernatural abilities these witches displayed, it's the realization that they walk among us, indistinguishable from anyone else, until the moment they choose to reveal their true nature. The 5 people you're about to hear from survived their encounters, but none emerged unchanged. Each carries scars that run deeper than flesh, memories that medical science can't explain. If you love what we do here, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe. It helps us summon more stories from the shadows every single night. Number 5. The Forest Coven. Environmental photographer Trevor Gallagher specialized in capturing wilderness areas for conservation groups. His latest assignment took him deep into Olympic National Forest, where ancient trees blocked out the sky and cellular service vanished into dead silence. The first signs of wrongness appeared along the hiking trail. Tree bark bore cuts too precise for any natural cause, carved into symbols that seemed to shift when viewed directly. Animal bones lay scattered in geometric patterns around certain trees, arranged with mathematical precision that made his skin prickle. The air grew thick with decay and something metallic that coated his throat. Every step deeper felt like walking underwater, pressure building behind his eyes and constant sensation of being watched by unseen observers. Gallagher made camp in a clearing where grass grew in perfect spirals and towering firs formed an exact circle. The silence was absolute. No birds, no insects, no wind. When darkness fell, human voices drifted through the timber, chanting in rhythms that predated any known language. Following the sounds deeper into shadow, Gallagher discovered 12 figures arranged around a massive stone altar. Their dark robes absorbed his camera flash, and their skins stretched gray and translucent over angular bones. Where eyes should have been, only black voids stared back. A living deer lay bound to the carved stone, its eyes alert but strangely peaceful. Obsidian blades moved with surgical precision, harvesting specific organs while keeping the animal conscious through methods that defied biological law. The altar's symbols glowed with phosphorescent light, moving across the stone like living text. Surrounding trees revealed human faces trapped within the bark, dozens of them, eyes wide with eternal terror. These weren't carvings. These were actual people absorbed into the forest's memory. The ritual participants explained their purpose in voices that carried accents from dead languages. The forest required regular blood sacrifice to maintain its supernatural properties. Each ceremony added power while deterring human expansion through methods outsiders dismissed as natural hazards. Hearts were removed for emotional communication, livers for processing intention, kidneys for filtering truth. Each organ continued functioning despite separation from the host, sustained by supernatural means that violated natural law. As the ceremony peaked, entities emerged from tree trunks, human-shaped figures composed of wood, leaves, and debris. They spoke in voices older than civilization about territory protection and human interference, evaluating Gallagher with predatory intelligence. The ritual participants were revealed as previous visitors offered the same choice now facing Gallagher: serve the forest willingly or become part of it unwillingly. Their human appearance was maintained through supernatural means, but decades of service had fundamentally altered their nature. Gallagher was offered documentation privileges in exchange for secrecy and periodic return visits. His photographs captured the ceremony's conclusion plus additional details his conscious mind had missed. Translucent shapes of missing persons from decades of reports, all watching with expressions of hunger. When Gallagher left the clearing, the forest guided his departure with supernatural efficiency. Paths appeared where none had existed, distances contracted, and he covered 8 miles in 20 minutes. His GPS showed no record of his route. Satellite images revealed no clearing in those coordinates, and conservation groups had no record of his assignment. The forest had erased evidence of its existence while establishing permanent surveillance over Gallagher's activities. Attempts to return resulted in mechanical failures and impossible road conditions. His photographs could only be viewed by him without causing psychological trauma in others. Anyone seeing the images developed immediate forest phobias and persistent nightmares. 6 months later, Gallagher began receiving dreams offering additional assignments in exchange for specific services. Forest entities maintained constant supernatural surveillance, making normal life impossible while offering the only escape through permanent service. And in that forest, every face taken watches forever from the wood. Number 4, the cursed inheritance. Estate attorney Rebecca Pike specialized in complex inheritance cases involving abandoned or contested properties. The Brennan inheritance appeared straightforward when Derek contacted her office about a Salem house left by an unknown great-aunt. Pike's first visit to the Chestnut Street property hit her like a physical presence. The air smelled of dried herbs and something sharper that made her eyes water. Every room contained floor-to-ceiling shelves, filled with jars and bottles holding substances that seemed to move in peripheral vision. Handwritten labels detailed ingredients and purposes in script that hurt to read. The words seemed to shift when not under direct observation, creating new meanings Pike couldn't decipher but instinctively understood were dangerous. Derek's enthusiasm troubled Pike more than the disturbing collections. During each visit, his speech patterns shifted toward vocabulary and mannerisms belonging to an elderly woman, rather than a 30-year-old software engineer. Eleanor Brennan's journals documented systematic harassment campaigns against Salem residents using psychological manipulation combined with supernatural methods. Photographs of victims, surveillance notes, and documentation of illnesses and accidents showed decades of deliberate human destruction. Pike discovered Eleanor's grimoire containing detailed information about Derek himself. His entire life had been shaped through magical influence to ensure he would inherit Eleanor's practice at the optimal time. Spells cast on family members had systematically removed them from inheritance consideration through accidents and conflicts that appeared natural. Derek's attachment to Eleanor's practice wasn't voluntary enthusiasm, but magical conditioning that made resistance psychologically impossible. Pike realized he was being controlled by supernatural forces affecting his judgment since birth. During her 4th visit, Pike discovered Derek conducting midnight ceremonies using personal items taken from her without permission. Hair from her coat, saliva from coffee cups, photographs of her family. These materials appeared on Eleanor's altar, arranged according to grimoire instructions. When Pike attempted to leave that evening, doors and windows refused to open. The temperature dropped 20 degrees instantly, and whispers in Eleanor's voice echoed from empty rooms, reciting personal details about Pike's life no one should have known. Supernatural imprisonment forced Pike through a binding ceremony conducted by Derek following Eleanor's audible instructions. The ritual involved blood drawn with an ice-cold obsidian blade that cut deeper than possible while healing instantly, leaving a permanent mark invisible to normal sight but causing constant burning sensation. A symbol carved into Pike's forehead became visible to others despite being invisible in mirrors. The mark created immediate recognition among supernatural practitioners, while causing normal people inexplicable discomfort in her presence. The binding compelled Pike to prioritize Derek's interests above professional obligations. She automatically referred occult-related clients to Derek, shared confidential information, and provided legal services supporting his expanding supernatural practice. Resistance resulted in escalating physical pain, migraines and nausea for simple refusal, unconsciousness-level agony for actual rebellion. The supernatural control operated through pain-pleasure conditioning, making compliance the only bearable option. Derek's transformation accelerated as Eleanor's personality gained dominance. He began speaking exclusively in Eleanor's voice during private conversations, referencing memories from decades before his birth, demonstrating knowledge of historical events he couldn't have learned normally. Pike discovered Derek was recruiting additional practitioners through her law practice, identifying clients with supernatural potential and establishing similar binding relationships. The inheritance business provided perfect cover for systematic recruitment of individuals with magical abilities. Eleanor's network extended throughout Massachusetts, with practitioners coordinating through supernatural communication, bypassing normal surveillance. Pike's legal work supported property acquisitions and business formations, expanding the network's geographic reach. The binding established permanent supernatural surveillance over Pike's activities. Derek knew her location, emotional state, and plans through methods making privacy impossible. Pike's family members began experiencing supernatural influences, ensuring her continued cooperation. 6 months later, Pike realized her career had become recruitment for a supernatural network operating throughout New England's legal community. Other attorneys showed signs of similar bindings, and several judges displayed behavior consistent with supernatural influence. Derek now operates Eleanor's practice openly, advertising spiritual services while conducting serious magical work. Pike serves as his involuntary legal counsel, watching helplessly as the binding grows stronger each month. And Pike knows she'll never be free. Number 3. The Highway Witch. Long-haul trucker Lance Garrett knew every mile of Route 50 through Nevada, but the November run felt different from the moment he left Las Vegas. The desert highway stretched under starless sky, and abandoned vehicles began appearing 30 miles from the city. Over 3 hours, Garrett counted 27 cars and trucks pulled over with engines still warm, headlights burning, personal belongings undisturbed. No drivers anywhere on the empty road stretching into desert darkness. The figure appeared in his headlights at 2 a.m., standing in the center line, 150 miles from the nearest town. An elderly woman in clean clothes waved for him to stop, but her clothing showed no movement despite desert wind strong enough to rock his 18-wheeler. As Garrett slowed, the woman covered impossible distance in seconds, reaching his cab faster than should be possible. Her shoes showed no wear despite claiming 10 miles of walking, and she knew his name, company, and destination without seeing identification. When Garrett hesitated, his decision-making became sluggish and confused. His hand moved toward door locks against his will, and the woman's appearance began shifting. Elderly features became more pronounced. Skin took gray pallor. Eyes turned completely black. Her smile revealed teeth sharpened to points. After entering his cab, the woman's transformation continued dramatically. Sometimes she appeared as young woman, other times elderly man, occasionally something that wasn't human at all. She moved his truck through supernatural control while he sat helpless behind the wheel. The woman directed stops at specific locations: abandoned buildings, remote crossroads, places unmarked on any map but serving purposes older than civilization. At each stop, she collected personal belongings from previous travelers, organizing them in patterns on his dashboard. She revealed her century-long presence on Route 50, collecting drivers and vehicles for supernatural operations based at abandoned ranch 50 miles east of Austin. The property contained dozens of vehicles arranged in geometric patterns and processing facilities designed for spiritual extraction and physical modification. Other figures emerged from ranch buildings, former travelers modified for different operational roles. Some served as laborers, others as guards, and few had been transformed into entities with abilities similar to her own. The woman's organization had operated for decades, accumulating resources through systematic predation of highway traffic. Travelers provided different qualities for large-scale magical workings. Truckers offered transportation and strength. Families provided emotional energy. Solo motorcyclists supplied spiritual independence. Garrett was assigned to Transportation Division, his truck modified for supernatural operations, and his biology altered for enhanced night vision, supernatural strength, and inability to survive away from Route 50. The modifications included psychological conditioning that made him recruit additional travelers for the operation, while maintaining enough human appearance to avoid suspicion from highway patrol. 3 weeks later, Nevada police found Garrett's truck abandoned near Austin with no mechanical problems and no signs of struggle. The ranch showed no habitation signs, but satellite imagery revealed fresh tire tracks suggesting regular activity, despite no legitimate operations. Route 50 continues experiencing unusual numbers of abandoned vehicles and missing drivers. Officials attribute incidents to challenging desert conditions, but commercial truckers report encounters with female hitchhiker who never reaches destinations. These encounters consistently result in missing time, memory loss, and unexplained vehicle modifications improving performance under desert conditions. Drivers describe feeling watched during subsequent trips and receiving recruitment offers in dreams. The abandoned ranch maintains appearance of desolation while serving as processing center for expanding supernatural operation. Missing persons provide labor, spiritual energy, and recruitment capabilities for network growing throughout American highway system. Regional trucking companies report driver shortages along western routes, with experienced operators avoiding assignments that require overnight travel through remote areas where cellular service is limited. But satellite imagery reveals fresh tire tracks every day. Number 2. The apartment above. Social worker Amber Hartley specialized in emergency placements for children removed from dangerous situations. When 7-year-old Kyle Ramsey needed temporary housing while his parents faced charges, retired teacher Stella Novak seemed perfect for his care. The Brooklyn apartment smelled of dried herbs and something sharper when Hartley first visited. Novak's references checked out perfectly, but Kyle's transformation began within days of placement. During Hartley's third visit, Kyle spoke in whispers and demonstrated knowledge he shouldn't possess. Her personal schedule, family problems, professional concerns never discussed in his presence. His behavior suggested anxiety, but also unnatural awareness of information no 7-year-old should access. Novak's apartment contained extensive herb collections, organized according to purposes unrelated to cooking. Detailed journals documented Kyle's activities with scientific precision, focusing on spiritual development rather than basic care needs. Kyle was learning complex herbal preparation with adult-level understanding of chemical interactions. His work showed precision requiring extensive training, and he could diagnose physical ailments with medical accuracy that exceeded his educational background. Investigation revealed Novak's true background as practicing herbalist specializing in developing supernatural abilities in traumatized children through foster care system. Her teaching credentials were fabricated, and she had been systematically requesting specific children based on spiritual potential. Kyle had been targeted for his psychic capabilities, and Novak had been manipulating his family situation for months before his parents' arrest. The domestic violence incidents and drug charges were consequences of supernatural influences designed to make Kyle available for placement. When Hartley attempted removal, Kyle displayed strong resistance and demonstrated abilities, proving Novak's training effective. He could read thoughts, predict emotional responses, and influence decision-making through subtle supernatural means that made normal child psychology inadequate for assessment. The binding rituals had created psychological dependency stronger than normal attachment. Kyle's supernatural development continued accelerating under Novak's guidance, with abilities including telepathic communication with other children in her care. Official removal proved impossible due to Novak's supernatural influence over social services personnel. Kyle's parents' legal situation remained deliberately unresolved through magical intervention in court proceedings, ensuring permanent placement. Hartley was reassigned after expressing concerns about Novak's methods. Her supervisors showed no interest in investigating the placement, and her case notes were systematically altered to remove documentation of unusual observations. Kyle continues living with Novak, who now houses several other children with demonstrated abilities participating in advanced training programs. They maintain perfect academic performance while developing supernatural skills and serving as recruitment agents. The children's abilities include identifying families suitable for Novak's expanding network. They can sense psychic potential in other children, emotional vulnerability in adults, and supernatural awareness in individuals who might recognize their true nature. Brooklyn Social Services has experienced increased applications from alternative practitioners, consistently requesting specific children. These providers show remarkable success with traumatized youth, achieving behavioral improvements and academic advancement exceeding normal therapeutic intervention. The children's training includes recruitment techniques disguised as normal social interaction. They identify schoolmates with psychic abilities, assess teachers and administrators for supernatural awareness, and evaluate family situations for network expansion potential. Novak's operation extends throughout New York's foster care system, with practitioners in multiple boroughs coordinating through supernatural communication. Children serve as information gathering network, surveillance system, and recruitment tool for expanding supernatural community. The foster care improvements attributed to alternative therapy success mask systematic recruitment of psychically gifted children for supernatural training. These children develop abilities while maintaining normal social adjustment, making detection by traditional oversight impossible, and none of them want to leave. Number 1. The substitute teacher. Principal Chloe Meridian hired Vanessa Cross to cover a third-grade classroom when regular teacher took emergency leave. Cross's credentials exceeded requirements, and her initial performance seemed exemplary until the children began changing. Within 2 weeks, every student had transformed beyond recognition. Children who struggled academically were suddenly performing at high school levels. Students with behavioral problems became perfectly compliant. Social difficulties resolved into harmonious cooperation that seemed unnatural for their age group. Cross was teaching meditation techniques, breathing exercises, and concentration practices enhancing learning beyond normal capacity. Her knowledge of each student's family situation and personal challenges suggested supernatural rather than professional insight. The children developed abilities violating normal developmental psychology. They could sense thoughts, influence emotional states, and coordinate behavior with minimal verbal communication. Their academic improvements included knowledge they couldn't have acquired through standard education. Cross's influence extended beyond school hours as children began following complex home routines involving meditation and herbal preparation. Parents reported these as homework assignments, but the practices produced measurable improvements in family harmony and individual well-being. Entire families adopted Cross's methods through their children's enthusiasm, experiencing enhanced health and emotional stability from unknown sources. The improvements were too significant for placebo effects and too rapid for normal therapeutic intervention. Investigation revealed Cross's credentials were completely fabricated. Educational institutions had no attendance records, references couldn't be located, and her teaching certification belonged to someone with different background and history. Cross had bypassed normal hiring through supernatural influence over administrative staff, showing no memory of recruitment or background verification. Her control extended to district leadership and school board members, experiencing memory problems when questioning her qualifications. Evening observations revealed Cross conducting rituals in classroom using personal items from students and families. She was establishing supernatural cult operating through educational system while maintaining perfect cover as exceptional teacher. Cross's true purpose was transforming Ashford into community under supernatural control using children as recruitment agents. The practices disguised as educational enrichment were actually initiation procedures bringing families into expanding supernatural network. Children under Cross's instruction developed telepathic abilities while maintaining perfect academic performance. They identified families suitable for recruitment while demonstrating loyalty to Cross that exceeded normal teacher-student relationships. Meridian's attempts to expose Cross were prevented by supernatural effects on her credibility and memory. Cross had established psychic control over entire district through systematic influence over personnel, parents, and students. The children's abilities included detecting supernatural awareness in adults, identifying potential threats to Cross's operation, and neutralizing opposition through coordinated psychological pressure. They operated as collective intelligence networks serving Cross's expanding influence. Cross's methods produced measurable community improvements attributed to effective educational leadership. Crime rates decreased, economic development increased, and social cooperation improved through supernatural influences disguised as natural civic progress. Cross continues teaching under permanent appointment, with influence expanded to multiple schools throughout district. Her network includes dozens of practitioners coordinating through supernatural communication while maintaining normal professional appearances. The community improvements coincide with increasing isolation from neighboring areas and resistance to outside investigation. Ashford has become supernatural territory protected by residents who genuinely believe their enhanced quality of life results from superior local leadership. Cross's students graduate with supernatural abilities intact while maintaining normal social adjustment. They attend regional high schools where they identify additional recruitment targets and establish network expansion into surrounding communities. And the children never want summer vacation to end. Modern witches don't live in forest cottages or practice in hidden covens. They walk among us, using our institutions and social systems to further ancient practices that predate human civilization. What makes them truly terrifying isn't their supernatural abilities. It's their understanding of contemporary life and skill at manipulating systems we depend on for safety and stability. They use our trust in institutions, reliance on professionals, and social connections as delivery systems for supernatural influence, working quietly until resistance becomes impossible. The next time you encounter someone who seems to know more than they should, whose help comes with subtle conditions, or whose presence makes others behave unusually, remember that real power doesn't announce itself. It simply takes what it wants. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this dark journey, hit the like button and subscribe. New horror documentaries every night here on TrumbleDreams.